Good morning.
Hello, everyone. I want to welcome all of you who are joining right now. Welcome, 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 my good friend Flemming on things. And I want to, guys, hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can easily hear you.
Absolutely. Hi, Flemming. Good to have you there. Good to
Good
have
to
you.
be here too.
And I want to welcome Peter. Peter, my friend, all the way from Hong Kong. Hi, Peter.
How are you, Brian?
I'm doing okay, Peter. I'm so excited to have you here right now. Let's do this. And I want to also welcome our dear friend, is Leung. I'm not sure I got the pronunciation of it correct, but
Yes,
please,
it's correct. Thank you very much. Thank you, Brian. Pleasure to be here with all of you from Dubai.
I'm glad. I'm glad. All right, so I want to thank all of you who's joined today. And you were part of the keynote, and you you saw all of the issues that we raised. Peter, we're living in very difficult times. The issues, as complex as they are, have also become complicated by some wicked problems. COVID is a wicked problem. It's not just a wicked problem. In fact, some describe it as a super wicked problem. Because when it seemed like we found a way to deal with the issues, it just seemed like it then spews in another direction. And we have climatic issues. We have issues around governments today. I mean, we all witnessed the U.S. election that took place not too long ago, and all of the drama that took place, unprecedented, really, or at least in modern history. And then all of the other issues that we've been having. How do we begin to address these problems? Of course, that's part of the intervention is what we're doing today. We're having a conversation, which hopefully as people are watching from all around the world, and many will still watch later, they can have some kind of clarity on how to deal with issues. But let me begin with the women among us and ask. I have some difficulties pronouncing your name. You're gonna have to forgive me, please. When you start, introduce yourself so I can get it correctly. Okay. So, but I'm going to start with you. Do you think we have leadership failure in the world today? And if you do so, why?
Is the question for me? Sorry, or it's for Peter?
It's for you. It's for you.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
absolutely.
um, well, thanks first to for the invitation to be here today with you and discuss such a very nice topic. As you mentioned, the world is going through a very special time, and people have to know how to handle these challenges or these obstacles that we have in front of us.
Right. Right.
And when you're talking as leadership, of course, they are great leaders, but they are bad leaders as well. And today, the great leaders are the ones who are taking forward their companies, their businesses, their countries ahead, and one who cannot really change or adapt to the new world are the one who are left behind. So, to answer your question, yes, there are a lot of challenges, of course, in the leadership today. We cannot say that all leaders are the best, who are the best that can really handle the situation that we are going through. But there are a lot of good examples that we can set and that we can study and people can read about and they can get inspired to really go and carry on. Hello? Ah,
Yes, we're still here.
yes. So yeah, because the screen went blank, so I thought
Yes.
something went wrong with my internet. Yeah, so I don't know what do you guys also think about this question.
Okay. Okay. Of course, I get your perspective. You say there is, you know that. Let's think. There is definitely um, good leaders and bad leaders as always. All right, and that's something that is very clear. There are great leaders and there are bad leaders. But let me come to Mr. Rotvend. Do you think we have more leaders today who are absent, absentee leaders than at any other time in history?
Who are what? I thank you for being here and thank you for inviting me, but I need to understand the question. Do I think that we have more leaders who are what?
In the course of my speech, I mentioned that there are leaders who are absentee leaders. In other words, they are not aware. They look up to all. They don't even understand the issues that they have as leaders.
I would,
Now,
yes.
okay, so do you think that we have more absentee leaders today than any other time in history?
I think that leaders today are faced with a lot of different things. First of all, they have 3, 4 different generations in the workplace. They have Gen Z who wants to be treated in one way. They have baby boomers who wants to be treated in another. So that means that there, you can say, average stay is different. Looking at the COVID we got last year, we got half of the employees in the office, the other half at home. So things are actually very, very different. For a leader today, he must set up each employee to win. He must deliver a crystal clear picture of the organizational win. He also must know that the speed of change in today's workplace is extreme. I was listening yesterday to the Manifesto for Future Organizations. You need to welcome creativity and learning all the time. Future fit process, harness change for greater good or gain strategic advantage. Shape the future through a range of initiatives from quick wins to long shots with a preference for games-changing opportunities. The organization must continuously co-create with the community. Now we're talking the 17 United Nations SDGs. The workplace must build systems that support a diverse and inclusive culture, unboss the environment, trust and motivate everyone to deliver long-term results. And you can say that the most efficient and effective method of sharing information with your community is a mix of digital and in-person communications. You need to continuous attention to emergent trends, regulations, and governance, enhancing future fitness. And innovation, the art of relentless changing the status quo, is so essential. So in today's workplace, there is a lot of things for the leader to face, and everything goes very, very fast. So it can be difficult to embrace all employees, to set people up for a crystal clear win, to embrace all regulations and everything. There is planning, there is communication, there is organizing, and not controlling. That's the last word. I would say rather monitoring. That means that you need to empower and create and be flexible. As a leader today, you must know that there is absolutely more than one single solution. And coming from school, we are brought up to know that there is only one solution. The academic world teaches us what to think and rewards us for what we know. But in the business world, there is many, 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 many different solutions. And we're not aware of that because that's not how the human factory called education brought us up. That's not the MBA, that's not the PhD, which are made at a record of the past. So as a leader today, you're really facing a lot of different things, and you absolutely need to be agile. I don't know if that was answer of your question.
That's an incredible perspective. What you emphasize is that there are more problems today. The problems are more complex today than they were, and that these are challenges that leaders have to face.
Absolutely. You can see a washing machine when I was a kid was a washing machine. Today, a washing machine is a lot of different things. It could be a dryer. It could be a lot of different things. If you're looking at banks today, what are they today? In the old days, when I was a kid, I went with my money and put them into the bank. I can't even do that today.
That's right.
You're right.
That's right.
So the world is absolutely much more complex.
I see. So in other words, we can safely say that many leaders today are being unable to manage the complexity that we found ourselves in. That is, of course, the reason why we can see some results that we're not very happy with.
I think that what creates happiness, if we're focusing on that, that's hope, that's trust, is the fundament, generosity, you can say tolerance, and empowerment of the workers, of the employees. That's why I'm saying monitoring and not controlling. We're not, as a leader, micromanaging. Forget that. It's not going to happen today, especially not when we're focusing on the Gen Z generation, who are becoming the new future leaders in the world. They don't want to be micromanagement. You give them a task and they disappear 3 days, and then they come back and solve it. And then they want to be appreciated.
Okay. Okay, but also, Mr. Rotvend, you also understand that in dealing with leadership today, we're not just talking about the corporate world. So we're dealing with the society as a whole, not just the corporate world.
Yeah, but if you're focusing on society, look at UAE. We got His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid, and he's saying every time he's asked, he wants to be number one. And journalists ask him, he says, "Why not?" So here we got society. If you're focusing on the UAE in the last 50 years, we have Dubai as an innovation hub. We get the opportunities from the government. We just sent a probe to March. And 50 years ago, people were not even attending school. So society, looking at Nigeria again and comparing that to Denmark, society in Denmark is not at all corrupted. If you look at society in Denmark, we have zero corruption. If you look at society in other places, we have a lot of corruption. So as society, we need to understand, if you're looking at Finland and their educational system, that's the best in the world. That's project oriented. There is no homework. That's working together and as a unit. That's what we need to understand in society. It's not a me culture. It's a we culture. And the moment we understand that society is a we culture, then everything would become a lot easier.
And that obviously comes from the education, from the, the mind.
It must come from education, but where are we in education? We're lecturing. We're teaching a record of the past.
All right, Mr. Rotvend, let me interrupt you a bit, and I want to go to Mr. Pierre in Hong Kong. Hi, Mr. Pierre. Okay,
thank you.
So we've noticed consistent rise of China over the years. Now, is there something about the leadership? Can you tell us about China and the ability to manage issues and continue to rise to the point that right now certain nations are concerned about their values?
So thank you for having me. So China, one way or another, because of their population, because of the way that the formation of government, because of the way that business is run, especially locally and internationally, China's facing a lot of modifications in its upbringing. So started with the one-child policy to the government structure to where it is now. Of course, you see, international organizations like Alibaba, you see organizations like Ant Group, which are increasingly facing a lot of government intervention. And you'll continue to see that because the policies in China are running in a certain way where you have to understand the rules of the game, right? So just like we mentioned here, they have a very different and unique style of leadership. And if, as international business people, if we are not aware of some of these circumstances, if we're not aware of how to navigate these turbulent waters, then that leadership would be very foreign. But understanding how to do business in China and understanding how the government and the leadership works will ultimately become very fruitful, because they are in very high need of global perspectives. So you see that from whether in the US, whether from UAE for that matter, whether it's going to be Middle East or Eastern Europe as well as UK. So you find that the amount of influence in China is very big, especially from a global perspective. So they're very adaptive to various different levels of leadership, various different levels of business relationships. But for those who are wanting to enter or work in China, they have to understand the government policies. They have to understand relationships come first. They have to understand that business is, the different type of contractual laws and the type of relationships that go on in order for business to be conducted.
All right. Okay, let me understand something. Are you saying that the primary reason why China seems to be rising over the years is because of these issues you mentioned?
Well, I'm actually saying this. I mean, you partly got it there, Brian. Is, as a matter of fact, the reason why China has had this uprising is because population, right? They have fundamentals that are able, not, just like anything, you have the fundamentals, you have momentum. They had the fundamentals right because they had people, right? They had labor. So it was the world's, global factory.
What are these fundamentals?
Well, for example, I mean, you have population growth. You have a high demand or a group of people who are becoming middle class. You have also the fact that you have the global perspectives wanting to China, and it all started at onset with the U.S. providing cheap labor, right? They wanted to outsource, right? So timing is a very important element in leadership. I personally believe timing is a very important part. If you have the right timing at the right, if you have the right leader in the right time, they could be either a great leader or they could be a terrible leader. So here's what happened in China in terms of fundamental. You had the right population, you had the right type of, you had the right type of situation as to labor force in terms of wages. You also had lack of union, where unions was virtually non-existent. You also had government really wanting to build infrastructure and to provide for the world and from a production standpoint. You also had the US wanting to ship off their low-cost labor jobs. They didn't want to produce anything. So all of a sudden, it created the right environment for China to have that growth. And also at the same time, you also had people who wanted to or prepared to work hard. You had people who were prepared to become middle class. You also had the great influx of the global economy wanting to provide these type of jobs for China. So that was the perfect mix for them to rise alongside government intervention, government support. That changed everything for China. Brian, you there?
Some technical issues.
Mr. Brian.
I'm here. I can hear you.
Good.
I'm hear you.
Good. Wonderful.
China got their fundamentals right.
Dr. Brian.
China had a focus. China was focused on they understood where they were. They located themselves in time. I think that's where I can take away from there. They located themselves in time, and they got the fundamentals right. I think it's also safe to say that China was being strategic. So that's a very important one there. We can say China took the fundamentals seriously. Am I correct? That's fundamentally what they say. They took the fundamentals seriously and ensured that they understand timing. Am I correct?
Yeah, I would say that's largely correct. They knew when they could excel, they knew when to put on the gas, and they also knew in perspectives when they were slow down, right? In certain things, they kept, for the large part of the last 10, 15, 20 years, China has been really relatively quiet until in the last until President Xi Jinping has taken power, where now it's more, okay, external forces, where expansion of Chinese merchandise, Chinese goods, Chinese leadership are abroad. Last 15, 20 years, it was sending people abroad, getting educated, and bringing them back. And after that period of time, now it's going, okay, now we understand what the world is doing. We understand the global perspectives. We understand the macro economies, no longer just an internal economy. And now this is their time that now they're going, okay, we understand. We've got this thing figured out. We've got the infrastructure. We've got everything that's in place. Now we're going to exert on the world. Now we can start playing at a world stage. And you see that in terms of, government, and especially right now, recently within the environmental, playing at a world stage, playing on a bigger way to work with the global leaders, the G7s, as to how they expand their reach, their presence. And I think that in itself is the type of leadership. So understanding the leadership directive becomes very important for us as business people, for the global economy to understand. And that's how you can reap the benefits of what the clientele really actually wants.
That's a very powerful one there. So get the fundamentals right. That's primarily one of the things that has helped China. Now, the Chinese person as an individual, is this his perspective, or is this about the government?
Well, there's actually government intervention, right? It's not government intervention. See, it's fundamentally different. So, I had a lot of my experience, working with foreign internationals, high net worth family offices, actually developing into China. And that's the thing. China is not right, is not wrong, it's just different. And we have to acknowledge that, right? There's a different sense of culture. There's a different sense of entitlement. There's a different sense of work-life balance. All these things are just different. Hong Kong is a part of China, and that's a irreversible fact. The reality is there's a very different fundamental in terms of lifestyle, in terms of career choices, in terms of, perspectives, in these parts of China. And China being so big has different perspectives. So I would say this. I think my perspective would be this. The people of China understand that this is what they have to work with. This is the perspective that the government holds. So you have two choices. You have the choice to go with the grain or against the grain. I've worked with a lot of entrepreneurs from around the world, and understanding the perspective of, what type of leadership do you follow? You could choose to go against that leadership, and unless you're prepared to prepare with conflict, to prepare with biases, there are certain things that China is absolutely intolerable about, which is separation. So if you try to go against that grain, then all I can say is wish you good luck. But from the other perspective, if you understand their scope, the people in China understand their place in their totem pole. They understand what they can do. They understand what is going to be a violation and what does not work in the government. And if you go against the government because of the way the government runs the country, it's a one government system. So from that perspective, if you do not follow the rules of what the PRC and the Communist Party of China do, then you're going to have a very tough time trying to get traction. And so this is what the people of China understand. And what the global economy sees is actually different, because we have a different judging stick. Our stick is going, well, we believe in this. So when you go to China, they believe in a different fundamental. And a lot of people would see it as, oh, they're that's wrong. You should not value that. The way that we value our lifestyle is not 999. So like working certain hours. And many people in the economy, in the business entrepreneurship, has come out and say, well, if you're not prepared to work very long hours in cases of 12 hours a day, right, then this is not the right organization for you. And that's how it's been fostered, right? So for the Western community to go, well, no, we work 9 to 5. We shouldn't be working people 12 hours a day, right? 6 days a week. Well, that's just different. And because I see the best of both worlds, there's no right or wrong. It's understanding what environment, what leadership you want to provide in the perspective to grow. And in China, that is how they've been able to get ahead. It's not right or wrong. It's just simply different. See, the internet connection is a little bit wonky here.
It's Africa. You're connected to Africa.
Right, that's true. Mr. Flemming, what? Yes.
I'm Dubai, together with Gislane, if that was the question.
Yeah, and there's a very different perspective. I mean,
of course.
Yeah,
definitely.
So I'd love to hear the perspective of what happens in the perspective of seeing China, or vice versa, even China seeing Dubai, for that matter. It's quite incredible.
Yeah, but you can say that China and Dubai is working together. We got the cynical.
Yes.
We were one of the first who got the vaccine from China. China is welcomed. Everybody is welcomed here. We are going for a 2030 plan. So the more people coming here, now we got a lot of Israeli people. We got Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed, who is now nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize in Norway 2021. So our, you can say, culture in Dubai, in Abu Dhabi, in UAE is very, very open. We can see the same with Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, who really want to attract. We want to go here from oil to manufacturing. We are really lifting up people. We don't have 12 hours work week, and that's not necessary. We saw Microsoft, who reduced to 4-day work week and increased productivity with 40%. I've done the same with companies in Denmark. What about you, Gislane?
Well, I want to say, actually, it's again to add to what Peter mentioned before. It's really following the leadership, because here the leadership are very clear. When you mentioned Flemming, Mohammed bin Zayed, and Mohammed bin Rashid, their objective is very clear. They want to put back the map of UAE in the world, and this is what they have done. And this is also thanks to their team that they are surrounded with, who, you know, they don't have any choice but to really deliver what they are they want to reach. So Dubai or UAE to open to the world, it's something that never anybody could have thought about it 30 years ago. When people were visiting Dubai, 40 years back, and there was only one road and maybe one hotel, nobody would have thought that the same country could have this much growth. But this is, again, someone at the leadership, this top of the country, who sat down and decided, well, this is what I want to do, and this is no matter at what price. So people have to follow. And thanks to this, I mean, I'm living in UAE for 20 years. I thought I will come and leave after 1 year, but here I am. I mean, this is my life, this is my country. And more and more people are coming from all over the world. They want to have the life of Dubai, our lifestyle, this open, this flexibility, this multinational, atmosphere, which I'm missing somewhere else.
Yeah.
It's based on generosity and tolerance, which is very different than China. China is a very controlled country, in my opinion. I don't live there. I never visited it. I just that's what I'm hearing. Mr. Brian, Dr. Brian.
Yeah. Let me come to Gazelle. I'm not sure. Let me come to you. Something very important. We can say that China has a very different philosophy. It's not right. It's not wrong. It's working. I'm going to come back to Kira in a while to ask further questions about that. But I want to ask you. You're in Dubai. How would you describe the attitude of a normal Emirati man or woman to problems in society?
How do they answer to problem in society, or how do they? Sorry, I did not understand. I did not hear properly your question.
Response. How do you describe
okay.
the attitude? Yeah, response to problems. Especially
see, in the Emirati nationals, there are so many different, families or culture. There are some which are very traditional and some who are really very open mind. They have traveled outside. They have studied outside. They come up with ideas. The same like what Peter was mentioning, like Chinese people were traveling and came back to the country. It's the same here. Educated, in Europe, educated in UK, in US, they come with a lot of luggage of information, and they want to make their country much better. And they've created processes. So here to answer to any problem in the society, there are so many entities that are made to answer to all kinds of problems, Dr. Brian. So they have made the system the perfect system for the social, life, whether you are Emirati or not, to answer all kinds of issues that may arise in the community. And that was really, this is something really nice, because I've not seen it in any other Arabic country. The system is so properly done, and this is what it is part of the success of the country.
I'm really trying hard to say the philosophy, the secret behind the growth of Dubai. All right, that's really what I'm driving at. So I'm trying to understand from you what you think is because we know that societies move forward when people take responsibility. That's what happens in places where everybody wants to share what they call national cake. They want to share, right? The pie. You usually find that you have more unrest, more tensions, more political issues, all right? But in places where people understand the need to contribute in expanding the pie, usually you see more progress. So I'm trying to see the response of the average Emirati citizen to issues, especially communal issues. So let me come to you, Mr. Flemming, get what your perspective could be on that.
The secret of you can say of the growth in the United Arab Emirates is tolerance and generosity. It's attracting people. If you're looking at the leadership here, everybody went abroad. Sheikh Mohammed, His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid went for the UK, and he was not given a gold nugget. He was actually working hard. If you're looking at his biography, Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed, the son of Sheikh Zayed, was also very well educated in the Kingdom of Great Britain or Commonwealth. So the thing is that Sheikh Zayed generated, or he actually founded the Seven Emirates, founded based on generosity and tolerance. And that's the way the growth in this country is driven forward. Attracting, we have every single university in the world in Dubai. We have every single, you can say, international organization in Dubai, and everything is made to attract a lot of you can say prosperity, people coming here and building business. So there's no taxation, which is another thing. So all the things you earn is yours. On the other hand, you need to pay a lot of fees everywhere. So this is another way of generating, you can say, income. The other part is that the innovation is so high-speeded. You can say we go to a paperless society in 1 to 3 years. Everything is, going and evolving and so on, growing. But you got the freedom. If you're looking at the
country,
yeah.
the country pushes you really to go
Yes.
forward, Dr. Brian,
Yes.
if I may say, because of these leaders who have this, growth in their mind, and you can see it in their action, in the entities that they create, whether it's for, going to space or, doing the impossible. So when you see that doing the impossible is actually possible, you start believing it as a person. And then, and this is really thanks to this vision, but also the system they have created around. Everything is transparent. You go to any government institution, you get your things done very efficiently. Everything online. This is not done, and the Emiratis today, they are very proud about this. You know, they are very proud that wherever they go, people know about UAE, they know about Dubai, they know about Abu Dhabi. This is like literally could not be even thought about by their grandparents. So
That's
this
right.
No,
has happened, of course, because of a clear vision, a very clear vision by the leaders, starting from Sheikh Zayed and of course Sheikh Maktoum for Dubai, and then this vision has been carried on by their kids, by their sons, who are carrying the same vision, creating the proper atmosphere with business entities, proper system that's going to help those people to come here, to attract foreigners, to live and make Dubai as their home. So
yes. And the freedom to do that. The other part is that we have the lowest crime in Dubai in the world. There's
yes,
no crime here
Mr. Flemming, why is that?
because
Why?
it's the
What is the
first,
reason?
first there is a control, Dr. Brian. Here there is a
Hmm.
control. We're going back to the fact that, I mean, yes, there is control of the information. There is cameras everywhere. Maybe in Europe, this could have been something, against privacy, to put a camera in a lift in a hotel, for example. But here it's part of security because this is protecting the people from any harm. So we have also, I mean, if we compare our society to others, maybe others, they will point a lot of things like lack of freedom or whatever, but it works for us. It's the same, like Peter, what he says.
it,
It works
yeah,
very well.
we don't
Okay.
miss the freedom. You have the freedom to
No,
be you if you want. You have the freedom to build a
exactly.
business. You have a freedom to come in from abroad and start up a business, an idea or whatever. It's all up to you. Again, you can say there's also there is the caring part. It's focusing on the generosity. That's and the tolerance. If you're looking at Sheikh Zayed when he built Abu Dhabi, the architect coming from US was actually Japanese, and he said that if I was speaking to my shogun in Japan the way I spoke to Sheikh Zayed, then I needed to commit suicide. So the part is here that we are equal in each other's opportunity. That's some of the secrets here that we are here to grow, and yet there's also a focus on me. Like Gislana said, she came 20 years ago and she may want to stay here 1 year, but she found that the environment, everything made her stay. So compared to, you can say, I don't see UAE very different than Denmark. Denmark is controlled too. You can just look at the COVID-19. Everything is controlled. Now, Gislana was talking about cameras, videos, and so on. We may not have that, but everything is totally in control in Denmark. You can't even get a bank account as a startup.
I was just coming to something important that you mentioned. All right. And I'm going to go to Peter first, then I'll come back to you. All right. Because we are seeing different leadership ideologies playing out and being successful. In China, you can say it's right or wrong, but there is an attitude, there's a culture. But Peter, can you say that the average Chinese man will consider himself free? I mean, in comparison to someone say in the US.
I think that's a fantastic question. And I think
Yeah,
that you've nailed it. The question is, what is definition of free, right? Is the definition of free, the fact that, if there's a lockdown, that you are forced to take a vaccine, is that considered free? Or vice versa, in Canada, they force you to be in a hotel for 14 days to quarantine. Is that considered free? Or vice versa, we're not going to open the world like Australia. No, we don't want foreigners. Japan running the Olympics. We don't want anybody else coming from around the world deciding that we're just going to have we may or may not have even guests at the in the audience. What is the definition of free? And in every country, the leadership determines, well, not leadership determines, the people who then vote for the leadership then determine, well, what does that freedom really mean? Is, just like in the US or anywhere else, freedom is determined by the rules that have been set by the governments to support it. So if that's the case, like in the US, it's the right to bear arms. You have absolutely no right to bear arms in China. So does that make it less free? And a lot of times from business approach, I would see it as, again, it's not a comparison. And I think a comparison is actually not fruitful because they're just different. And if I look at the average person in China, do they feel that there is lack of freedom? Then my answer is no, I do not believe the average person in China have any doubt that they have freedom other than politics.
Just a moment. Peter, would you say that is because this is the awareness of the average Chinese man as a result of exposure, or would you rather say that fundamentally what people consider freedom in China is what they have? Or do you think is it a matter of perspective and exposure, or it just exists?
Well, I think you hit it both on the head, right? So one being the fact that this is how they're groomed. So you have people in, rural to urban cities where they're groomed that way. So if you know no different, then how would you, a child does not know a pot is hot unless they touch a pot and realize. So, from that perspective, it's always a matter of perspective, right? Lifestyle, work attitude, life balance, whether it's rich or poor. The only time that you have rich and poor is when you see rich, then you are comparing, and therefore poor. You can't know any different if that's the way it's a lot of people are brought up that way. So I know Mr. Flemming has his perspective as well on that, and he's eager to chime in, please.
Yeah, please, Mr. Rotvend.
What you touched some very essential, how they are groomed. What you don't know, you don't know. So the thing here is that social intel, conditioned limited belief, human factory, conformity. As a 5-year-old, you have the creativity 98%, according to surveys from NASA. As a 10-year-old, you got 30% creativity. 15 years old, 12. As an adult, you got 2% creativity. So the thing is, what is freedom? I believe that life is infinite, like Abraham Maslow said, that life is infinite. But the thing is that you need to change on the inside before change starts happening. If it changes outside, most people wait, most people in China, most people in the world wait for the outside to change before they change. Why am I saying that? Because I was a leader in a bank in 2010 to 11. We had the finance crisis. I bankrupted every real estate broker, every real estate developer, and I even bankrupted family because everything went down. We got the biggest stock in Denmark in the bank was 300, and it ended up at 39. And if the Danish government didn't give them some money, it would be bankrupted at the finance crisis. I went from, leader in a bank down to a homeless, stayed there for 6 months. And then I've been traveling 88 countries and embracing 88 different cultures all over the world. Not yet, you can say, China, Japan, and Asia. But the part is here, what is freedom? What we don't know, we don't know. So if we are kept in conformity by the academic world, if we are kept in conditioned limited belief like parents and authorities, we don't know what freedom is. You can ask Abraham Maslow, and not him, but actually the guy who invented the light. That was a 10,000 step process. You can ask Brother in the right that insisted that humans could fly. Everybody told them that they were insane, but they had a dream. As an adult, we don't dream. We only got 2% creativity. We have a very convergent thinking. The school system is like, you need to have the right answers, and there's only one right answer. And the more we grow in the school systems, the more our future are depending on finding that right answer. So that's why our creativity goes from 98 down to 2%. In the business world, and especially these days, there are no right answers. As I said before, one of the focus area of the manifesto of future, you can say, future organizations is that you need to ask, you need to invent, you need to understand that innovation, the art of relentless changing the status quo, is essential. But that's not the way we're brought up, and that's why we are groomed to stay conditioned, limited belief. So that's why we are asking the questions of freedom. What is it? We don't know what freedom is.
Can we know? Can freedom be known?
Well,
Is it possible to know
Gislane,
it?
well, I really, I'm really enjoying the discussion, guys, with you. But it is true. I mean, the freedom is depend on the perspective. Today, we are very lucky to live in internet world. We have all access to the information, and it's very easy to see what other countries are doing and to dream about it and see forward. I I believe that every country, every society, or every culture has their belief and the way how they see the world. And what's very important is our flexibility and to be open to other ideas, to other things. So this is the way how we can grow. But whether to say, is this country free, the other one is not free, this is very subjective. Of course, there is like minimum rights, human rights all over the world. Everybody is following that. But there is like small things, which we are talking about. This is not really making a huge impact. It's we have just to be flexible and be open. So if I go to China, I will understand that this is their mentality. If I go to Nigeria, I will, this awareness has to be there. Because what was happening before is that people were thinking that what they are doing is right and what the others are doing is wrong. And this is what is wrong, actually.
there is no right and wrong, you can say,
Yes,
but the point is here that for me, I found in 2010 that there is more than what I was giving by my parents, what I was giving
of
by the
course.
government.
Of
There
course, I
is, I
agree
was
with you.
missing something. I needed to find my passion. I needed to find my purpose. And then I started traveling. And I know it. My purpose today is unlocking potential. And my purpose today is seeing humans you bloom. That's what I love to do. And that's where I am. If I can ask the open, curious question, curiosity is that the more curious you are, the more open-minded you are, the more you embrace. And the other part, as Gislane said, if I go into a country, I need to understand the culture. That means that I need to understand the people. Otherwise, I'm just showing my pride every time I'm opening my mouth. If I don't understand the people and see with their perspective, then I'm just, an idiot. That's how people will see me, because what do he know? I went for Iran in 2019, and they told me, what do you know about our country? I already investigated. I know the full story of the country. I know the story of UAE. If I'm embracing somebody, I need to understand and see with their eyes. Otherwise, I can't help anybody. And I think that is the same as a leader. A leader is a people developer.
Mhm.
That's what we can see here in the UAE. If you're looking at the leadership, those are people developers. They want to grow the nation. And another thing, we don't have female or women empowerment. We have empowerment. Looking at the government, 50% female leaders. So here we go, only got the empowerment of the nation.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, the reason why the issue of freedom is very important and what it is to be free is because that's actually the primary responsibility of leadership, to extend and expand freedom. And so that's the reason why I like the way giving it most attention, right? Okay, so what I can take away from all of what you've contributed is that freedom is relative. Am I correct?
Yes, very much. It's relative, of course.
Okay. Now, now that's a very is a very troubling one. And if freedom is relative, um, I have difficulties really identify that freedom is limited. I could rather think, is it more appropriate to think that people's sense of freedom could be limited based on their exposure? But that doesn't necessarily mean that freedom is limited. Let me give you an example. The world has moved forward only as people step forward to redefine things. At a time when we couldn't do live stream, with the people at that time, we didn't think there was any problem. Okay, but we weren't free to do all we would have wanted to do. There was a time when we didn't have mobile phones, and one thing we didn't think anything was wrong. We were fine with what we got, and eventually we got something better. There's a time when we didn't have the iPhone and smartphone, and we were just fine with what we got.
That's why,
Okay, so can we say really now as the world progresses and people intervened and people saw more, leaders see more and bring it into reality. All right. As people saw more and brought it into reality, the people experience more freedom. In other words,
The
in other words, can we really say that freedom is relative or that our idea of freedom might be relative and of course relative to our exposure? Is that more appropriate? Peter, what do you think?
the thing is that we as humans are pattern seeking individual beings. Sitting here today, we could have done that 10 years ago. The virtual world didn't change a lot in the last 10 years. We could actually done virtual sessions 10 years ago, but we didn't do that. Even when we started this, doing Zoom or virtual, no, I don't like it. We don't like that. So as humans, what I would rather ask the question: what came first, the egg or the chicken? Because is it the leader that needs to change, empower, and have flexibility, and knowing that there's more than one solution, or is it the employees that need to take responsibility, with ability to respond?
Now you're
Every
about
single
something.
individual needs to take responsibility for he himself.
Let, let
And
me
we don't
interject.
do that.
Mr.
It's a lot
Rotvend,
easier to be managed.
am I on mute? Mr. Rotvend, let me interject. I want you to always look at this beyond the corporate world. All right, because whenever you go that word employee, so it gets us into one sphere of thinking. I want us to really look at this thing as society, because at the end of the day, someone wants to be able to take away an understanding that empowers him to be more, to do more, to lead more change. So I want you to remember the question is: do you think that freedom is relative, or that our perception of it might be relative? And I give an instance with how we've made progress. And the people that lived in 1920 didn't think they had any limited, they didn't think that there were limitations until some people saw ahead. And through several kinds of intervention in politics, in technology, and all of that, more became possible, meaning there was more freedom, but the people didn't have more of all of the freedom. So somebody in China, there could be more freedom available, but he's not aware, so he doesn't complain, he doesn't bother himself about that. So he's fine with the status quo until there's some kind of exposure that enables him to challenge them. Because once we go with the idea that freedom is limited, that means whatever you have, it's okay. Don't do more, don't be more. And what Dubai is today, that's not where Dubai was just 15 years ago. There's a lot
No,
that has taken, a
but
lot has
but
taken,
but
and
the
that's
answer,
because some saw more.
yeah,
So if
the
people
answer,
in Dubai, everybody thought then freedom is limited. is relative. This is our freedom, and people stop grooming, then all of that wouldn't have happened. So I have a problem when you say freedom is limited, all right? Because if freedom is limited, then we can't grow.
The part is that freedom is not limited. Peter said it before. How are you groomed in China? How was I groomed in Denmark? I was a leader in a bank. I went bankrupt with $1 million. I was living in the street for 6 months. I paid back my $1 million because I understood that I need to take responsibility. What I don't understand today, I Google. I don't need a PhD. I don't need an MBA. Everything I don't understand, if I get a question or whatever, I Google. I'm working with government entities in the world, in UAE, hopefully in Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. I'm working with large international organizations. But 10 years ago, I was living in the streets and I have the minus of $1 million on my account, which is today paid back. So the part is that you as a single individual needs to step out of your comfort zone. But you don't do that because it's not in harmony with the way you're brought up, with your comfort zone, with your perception, your navigator. And humans really love patterns. And we would rather take a road with a lot of stones than face the unknown.
Right. I got that. All right. So Peter, let me come to you, Peter. What is your perspective? Do you think freedom is relative, or do you think our idea of freedom might be relative to our exposure?
Well, it's absolutely relative to our exposure because, in the context here it is, right? Every government, every bank for that matter, sets out rules, sets out guidelines in which it wants to direct. And Mr. Flemming had brought up a good point. When you Google, what do you then Google? Do you Google facts or do you Google opinions, right? And based upon what Google wants you to see, you're going to get an opinion depending on what they want you to see. And that's reality, right? So what then if you Google a fact like what is 1 + 1, I think there's certain things are definite because they're factual, right? And because of that you get that perspective. But when you go Google an opinion, then that's where other things like media come in, right? Like Dr. Brian, you'd have to then think, well, is freedom control of media? Because media is now, whether Facebook, Instagram, Google, for that matter, now have, if they take a side or if they take a perspective as to what you see, then it's what your exposure is. And the minute that you get exposed to more things or another, then you have a totally different paradigm. So Mr. Flemming and Giselle also mentioned that, when we bring it up, it doesn't mean just bring up by the government. It also be brought up by limitation belief of our parents, of lending or money, or even relationships, or how to deal with people. It's not just business or money. All these things are relative to our exposure. And that's why there's no right and wrong, because everybody is entitled to their opinion in the perspective of the beholder. My parents may see certain things as wrong, but because to them, leveraging could be wrong. Doing like, hey, 9 to 5 job is the way to survive. But you have both views. You have some people who are going to have to do 9 to 5, and you're going to have entrepreneurs. If everybody was an entrepreneur, then there's nobody working any other job. So it is all a relative perspective, and exposure is the big one. And that's why, Dr. Brian, I appreciate what you're doing here, is because this leadership is about empowering to see more. Mr. Flemming has mentioned that, seeing more, to open up people to see more of the world, to have more perspective, to have more opinion, and have more discussions. And I think that's how people grow, and that's how people see new things. That's how people break out of their limiting beliefs, because and that in itself, that level of freedom, the level of perspective, then changes. Having traveled 88 countries, I'm sure the perspective is tremendously different, right? And having even running a bank, China is cashless. I say this, and if I can take 30 seconds to share a story, I was there in China, one of my first half dozen times, I was living in a really prestigious hotel. And I remember I said, you know what? I wanted to see China more in up close and personal, right? Like we all do in a country that we visit. And I remember this. I speak broken Mandarin, but I do business in China. And I was there, and I went down to the bakery, which was at the station. And I remember this very vividly, Dr. Brian. I was there with cash. And the server said to me, the lady behind the counter said, "We do not accept cash."
No breakfast for you.
I had to go hungry, right? And it was $1 US. It was $1 equivalent. So it was 7 RMB at the time. And I couldn't buy a loaf of bread. And I went, is this crazy or what? So this is all perspective. They went from a fully cash society to now whatever the case is, upwards of 90% where it's completely cashless. And now China has a digital currency, a digital yuan. I look at that and I go, so, and that's progressive. And so when we look at freedom, there's so much encompassed in that, because people have been given the right to think, and the perspective of getting a worldwide perspective of having, Chinese nationals having, visit, of course, UK for education, US for education, Asia, rest of Southeast Asia, including Singapore for education, UAE for education. And I think that's the perspective. So we all have that ability. We all have that choice to learn more and to be in a better perspective. And that's why I appreciate what you're doing here. Everybody has that choice to be able to see beyond what they've been given. Their parents what was right for their parents does not mean that is right for them. No. Everybody has that choice. And I would say that the reason why leaders become leaders is because they want something different. A leader's not a leader until people decide to follow. So then the question, otherwise you'd be a lone soldier. You'd be the only guy there, right? Who are you really leading? So it's fine tuning, right? And sometimes that, the question is, are you the leader because people decide to follow, or did the people then elected you to be their leader so they can follow your vision or their vision as an encompass? So, and this is all relative to perspective, and that's why my answer to your question would be, freedom is to the perspective of what they see and what they have exposure to.
That's perfect. Wonderful. All right, let me come to you, Ghislaine. How do you think, in the course of all we've been discussing, how should a private citizen, an ordinary person, right, rise up to bring more freedom in any society, irrespective of whether it's China or United States? Or let me give you an example. Just recently, I think 2 days ago, the judge convicted the policeman who was charged to court regarding the death of George Floyd on 3 count charges. The we know the death of George Floyd sparked of riots and demonstrations, not just in the US, but across the world.
Mm-hmm. Doctor, yeah, it was kind.
So you get now a few more minutes.
Let's wait for him to come back to have the question.
So you get the question.
Dr. Brian.
So how should ordinary people, what is the right approach to challenging the status quo and bringing more liberty?
Well, understanding that everything is out there. Everything is in there. Whatever you don't think about, it's already there. It's just a matter to sit and have a clear objective. What do you really want? You see something that is wrong, you want to change it, it is possible. Today, for kids at school, we don't tell them anymore when they ask a question, is it possible or not? Everything is possible. In my home, everything is possible. My son asks me every day, can I travel to the moon? I said, yes, it's possible. There is any other Earth? Yes, it's possible. So not to have this limitation of belief and understanding that everything is out there and we just have to reach to it. So if you as an individual is not happy about the situation, you have the right wherever you are to take the decision and to say, okay, I want to change it. You don't need somebody to empower you. You don't need somebody to tell you that you can do it. This is a human being because we have our brain to decide, we have our mind, and we have something which is great, which are the dreams. The dreams, this is what help us to carry on and to see where we're going. The difference between somebody who is successful and somebody who is not successful is that the person who is successful is someone who has a dream and he really believes in it every day, no matter what is happening. While others, they have a
Absolutely.
dream and it stays as a dream and they leave it because they have insight and understanding that it's not possible to reach actually. They don't have a belief really that they can achieve what they really want. And this is thanks to the school, of course, putting us all in this thinking of a 9 to 5 job, or the way that things have to be. You have to be a doctor, or you have to be a teacher, or you have to be an engineer. This is what was the option given to me when I was a child. Either I have to be a doctor, or I have to be a lawyer, or I have to be an engineer. There is nothing else. There is no point of me thinking really what I really want, because this is what the option that are in front of me.
Mm,
But here we have all of us,
mm.
all over the world, as a humanity, we all have this capability to really think what we really want and really believe that it's there.
Wonderful, wonderful. If you see something you don't like, it's your responsibility to challenge it. Was that what you said?
Yes, of course.
I wanted to
If you
emphasize.
see something, no, if you see something and you don't like, you have two options. Either you want to change it or you move on. It's again a matter of personality. There are many people, they see things that are not going right and they don't care. But then
Then
this is,
what was the right thing to do? Because we want to promote what is working and what should be, not just what people do. What's the right thing to do?
what the right thing to do is to go behind what you really believe in. Whether it's about right, whether it's at work, whether it's a dream, you have to go behind it, because this is otherwise it's not humanity. Because if people were just stopping at what they think is right or not right, then we'll not have electricity, we'll not have internet, as you mentioned, we'll not have phone. There was someone at a certain point which had to jump over that barrier and say, I'm going to do it.
I
And
agree.
that is only coming from a subconscious belief that you want to reach there.
Yeah,
And
I agree with you. And today you are in Dubai. You have a great business in Dubai. You've been there for 20 years. And that's because someone took the responsibility for building a city like Dubai.
exactly, and giving me the opportunity to be there and work freely and very openly.
So today you are living someone's dream today. Someone saw more and made that
Yes, of
possible.
course. Yes, actually, when I came to Dubai, I embraced really the dream of Sheikh Mohammed. For me, is His Highness is not only a great leader, but someone who really inspired me to really believe that we can do it, no
Hmm.
matter what you want. So it's just a matter to be precise. What is it that you want?
That's right. That's very powerful. It is important that we do more, be more. If you meet a situation that is ugly, change it. It's a responsibility. That's what leadership is about. But sometimes somebody could say, to change it, I need capacity. I could have limitations. Feel that how would you respond as we plan to round up now?
I mean, again, the same answer. I will tell them,
I'm referring to Peter right now. Thank you. I already took your
okay,
submission.
thank you, thank you,
Listening
thanks.
here.
Do not.
Yes. Hello, Peter, are you still here?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so did you get the question or should I repeat it?
Yeah, can you please do that? I you skipped out there for me.
Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. All right, so Gizan has laid it out. It's important you meet a challenge don't just fix it and move on. That's what life should be about. Take responsibility for the problem. That is the philosophy that works, irrespective of where you live, whether in China, in Nigeria, in South Africa, or in Asia. So, but I'm saying, in doing that and having that kind of philosophy and mentality, you find out that you require capacity to solve problems. And somebody say, I'm just limited by this or that, limited by government policy, limited by culture, or even finances. How will you respond to that?
And again, that's a great question, the way you asked that. So here's what I would say, right? It's only a limiting belief if you believe it's limiting, right? So we all have choices. And that's what we're saying is we have that choice to, if you're seeking more, then go pursue more, whether it's in education, whether it's in perspective, whether it's in coaching or mentorship, or perhaps finding a leader that you respect or a person that their integrity, their wisdom, their knowledge. This is all within our control, right? And we, instead of thinking, oh, okay, government is restricting me, or my business is restricting me, my company is restricting me, my boss is my limiting belief, I have a glass ceiling. It is up to us to change that. It is not up to somebody to put, like, that's the thing. We have that ability, right? Now, as times have improved for so many, even in the US, the different channels, right? You have the choice to listen to the people in the other side of the aisle. And I always encourage that sometimes, yes, we may believe in a certain thing, but it's always great to hear the other perspective, because that is what growth is. If we only, and that's why having mentorships or having leaderships roles, having that other perspective allows us to grow, and having that wisdom and that perspective to actually listen to the other side, to find out what the other side is doing, how they're doing. Is there some common ground? Is there perspective that we can see commonality in? And that's right. That's up to us to change. If we want the future to change for our generations or generations to come, then it is up to us to explore. Yes, the leadership provides you the platform, the pedestal, the ability, the community, right? But at the same time, you see an open architecture. You see places where it is vastly open in terms of government and in terms of rules and in terms of law. But the challenge is most people don't step out of those boundaries. Most people don't improve upon them because they've been just running busy. So it is up to us, if you want the future to be any different, whether it's going to be in a business, whether it's going to be an income, whether it's going to be perspective, family, it's whatever we value. We have that control, right? And then from that perspective, don't see it as the victim. See it as we are the innovation. If you think that, China's the same way, and most around the world has been the same way. We get to control our destiny. We get that vote. We get that opinion. So if you don't feel that this is your right move, you also have the opportunity to, like Ghislaine, to uplift and go to another location. Go to where you believe that your values are aligned, where your business interpretations will have the best opportunity. And I think that that's what we can consistently make a change, an improvement in ourselves, to see more, to have a larger vision, to have more wisdom by being even on this leadership summit. It's perspective, and that's the thing. We all come from different perspectives with different opportunities, and that's what most people need to see more of, is what other people are doing, and that's the inspiration, and then forming that inspiration to make it your own.
Absolutely. Wonderful submission. All right, let me come to Mr. Rotvend, my friend. Tell me, how should we as private citizens deal with limiting belief? I mean, that you are an expert in that. So how should people deal with limiting belief so they can do more and be more?
How do we as single individuals become more, and how do we embrace? I think that here in this summit, you can say, Peter, what he just said is our ability to respond. We may not have the ability, but we can respond. You're looking at Ghislaine. Peter and Ghislaine is not average people. Ghislaine is telling her kids, of course you can travel to the moon. That's not a problem. So the point is here that, do you think that the way you think or what you think has an effect on your life? Yes, most people do that. But if that's really true, then I would be conscious every single morning I wake up, and I will embrace life consciously. But we can't do that because conscious is only working with 2,000 bits per second, and subconscious works with 4 billion bits per second. The thing is that every time we do something, we react emotional. It goes to our limbic systems, and then out comes a reaction. Most of what we do every single day, 95%, is stimuli respond. We got a stimuli, we respond. And that's without intelligence. Only your neocortex, your conscious mindset, can accept, reject, neglect, and create. Every single day, you make 38,000 decisions. That's proven by science. You have 60 to 70,000 thoughts. 80% is negative. And another part, 95% of those 60 to 17,000 thoughts are repeated from yesterday. As humans, we like patterns. We don't want, as Peter said, if I don't like China, of course I just travel to United States of America. No, we don't do that. We stay in our comfort zone. We are not stepping out of the comfort zone. As I said before, why do we travel? Why do we fly? Because two guys thought that humans could fly. That's the only reason. Otherwise, we couldn't do that. Why do we have the light? Because a guy did it and did it and did it 10,000 times because he believed that it was a 10,000 step process. And we're not there. We wake up in the morning, the alarm clock rings, reality confirmed, and then we start doing what we did yesterday and the day before. And then we have a mental model called busyness. Being busy, running the wrong Mount Everest. Most people are. Because they don't have a dream. If I'm asking people, do you have a dream? Do you have a vision? In 100 places, or with 100 people in the room, 5 people are putting up their hand and saying, yes, I got a dream. And this is how life is. And the other part, we assume that when we done one thing, that's the you can say the worst competitor in your life is your assumptions. Because what worked 2-3 years ago is absolutely not working today. What worked before the COVID is absolutely not working today. But we're staying in the same patterns. That's why I've had the questions before. What came first, the egg or the chicken? What came first? Is it the leader who needs to change, or is it the employee who needs to take responsibility? Or can we do this together, knowing that the world is really, really fast and everything is changing every single day? And we need to change too.
Right, right, absolutely. The world is changing every single day, and we definitely need to change. That's the only way the world moves forward. And sometimes there is a place you're coming, there's a place I'm coming, there is a place all of us must come. So while those in high office, whether that high office is in a company or in a nation, all right, while they must do what they must do, there is a responsibility that everybody must, there's a role everybody must play. That's the only way. We take
But
responsibility, then we have to build capacity, we have to grow. That's the only way we move forward. But the problems in our generation definitely belong to us. If for some reasons the environment where you are will not support, and you don't have the capacity to move the boundaries of possibilities, you can consider finding a place that supports your dream while you grow and build capacity. These are some of the things that you have emphasized, and this is absolutely necessary at such a time we are living in that is very complex and complicated at the same time. I want to thank all of you, Zen, Kira, Flemming, for coming together and being on this panel with me. I believe that all of our viewers from around the world have a lot of inspiration and knowledge that will position them to do even more and be more productive, whether in the workplace or in their nation. as a political leader or as a fellow citizen. So I want to thank all of you once again. And I want to say, let's keep this conversation going. There's still a lot to be said. We can't say everything now. While we say, we must also do and be leaders by example. So I want to thank you, Pira. Thank you for coming on the panel. I do appreciate your time you've put in. I want to thank you, Zen. I want to thank Flemming. Thank you so much, all of you. And thank you,
Thank you.
all of you who are watching from around the world. There are still more coming. We have more panels in place. And gentlemen and lady, I wanted to just give a final bye to the viewers while we wrap up this session.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you
Thank
very
you.
much. And always constantly challenge the status quo. That's what Ghislaine does. That's what Peter do. That's what I do every single day. And if we understand that, we'll see progress.
Right. Right.
Don't
Absolutely.
expect different
Ghislaine, please.
results doing the same thing.
We're never doing the same thing. We're always doing different things.
Yeah, but
We
doing the same
understand.
thing and people expecting different results, it does not
Yes,
work.
that's not working at all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
So much.
Rotvend.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye. Bye.